Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Yoshimura?
Here.
Ms. Bradley?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Okay, very excited tonight. We have a very special recognition. Dustin?
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I would like to welcome Mr. Al Buxton to the front. Al is a friend of mine, as we have met through the youth wrestling community many, many years ago. And we've shared the coach's corner many times as his grandchildren competed on the mat. Mr. Buxton is a big supporter of our kids, our school, and our community. It truly is my honor to be here and be a part of this special night for you.
Thank you.
The Board of Education recognizes the service provided to the country and the individual sacrifices made by veterans of World War II, the Korean conflict, and the Vietnam conflict. Since many of these veterans left high school, you come on up. That's all. That's the best stuff.
Nothing better.
You're the best looking one up here. Since many of these veterans left high school in order to fight for their country, the board wishes to recognize their efforts by awarding them a high school diploma. To be eligible for a diploma, all of the following criteria must be met. The individual is a current resident of the state of Ohio or was previously enrolled in any high school in this state. The individual either left a public or non-public school located in any state prior to graduation in order to serve in the armed forces of the United States, or due to family circumstances and subsequently joined the workforce or war effort or entered the armed forces of the United States. The veteran received an honorable discharge from the armed forces of the United States, and the individual has not been granted a high school diploma, a diploma of adult education, or a diploma under this provision. My good friend Al, or Albert Buxton, meets all the criteria set forth. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Buxton over to the microphone to tell us a little bit of his story.
Where do I start? 1961, I was a student at Central High School, which is now Cincinnati State College. In December of that year, I left school, joined the United States Navy. January 1962, I ended up in Great Lakes, Illinois for my training. 8 weeks of that cold Chicago weather off of that lake was terrible. But I survived it. I went aboard, was sent home for a week, of course, leave. I went to the USS Wasp, which was an aircraft carrier. I was detached to the Admiral's staff. And I was a boatswain's mate, which I was what we called in the Navy a deck ape. We took care of the boats and the ship, stuff like that. Well, my job was to take care of his gig, they called it, which was a boat that we had to get him off of the ship if the ship got hit by a torpedo or whatever. So we get on board the USS Wasp. We go to Boston, Massachusetts. They dry docked the Wasp, sent us to USS Intrepid, which we then left for a 6-month cruise in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. During the Cold War, and the beginning of Vietnam was actually in '57, but they didn't recognize it until '61. So that's when I took care of the business, went there. I got out of the service after 2 years. Never did get a chance to go back to school because I'd been married and had children. I've got 4 adult children. I got 17 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. Then I'm proud to be an American citizen, and I'm proud to serve my country. And thank you for this honor.
Mr. Buxton, I know that you brought guests with you. Would you mind introducing us to your guests?
My wife Sylvia, or Becky, we call her. My daughter Tanya, and her children, Kayla and Hallie. Little Randy couldn't make it because he worked kind of hard today. My other daughter Heather, and her two little girls, Tessa and Tristan, and my grandson Derek, who wrestled with me. I remember one time he won a match, the first match he'd ever won, and Coach Steve picked him up, threw him up. Not anymore. Not anymore. So, all right, we'll be at this time.
Welcome. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Jack Fisher up to join us up front as well, to be a part of our procession here. Mr. Fisher, I'll have you stand right here for me. Make this thing official.
Call across the stage.
Family and friends and supporters, please wait until the end of the row when the advisor says thank you to cheer for your graduate. Mr. Bowling, would you please recite the graduate acknowledgement?
Gladly. On behalf of the Northwest Local School District Administration, I wish to congratulate this member of the graduating class of 1962. Mr. Fisher, the credentials of the candidate presented here today has been reviewed. The candidate is entitled to the diploma he will receive from Colerain High School.
Ladies and gentlemen, Albert Buxton, class of 1962. Thank you. Before I release the family, I know some of you may have some comments for Mr. Buxton, so I'll leave that to you now.
Mr. Buxton, I've signed a lot of diplomas over the years, but I would say what an honor it was to sign yours. I want to congratulate you. Thank you for your service. I think you have a little granddaughter that is the proudest one in the whole room, adorable, and we are so glad all of you are here. I'm glad you made it back safely.
Thank you.
So at this time, I'll welcome all of our guests to go outside and take a picture with this long overdue graduate. So we'll step outside.
That was cool.
Always a cool moment when we get to do that.
No legislative.
Okay. We do not have a legislative update tonight. Jim, what about Butler Tech?
The October meeting is going to be at the DeRussell at the Fairfield Township. They've changed the name to that. So, Todd, do you want to get in contact with them to let them know?
I'll take care of it.
And we should be good to go. And then don't forget about the all boards meeting. And the kids are doing the student success that they're going to have from 3 to 6 at the different locations. So if the board members can make that, starts at 3 and goes to 6, that's when the dinner starts.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
John asked if I could chime in at the board
Yeah,
meeting
yeah.
with you. The 3 to 6 is really cool because if you can't make the board's dinner meeting, you could at least make this. It's seeing our kids in action. They will tell you specifically where our kids are in programs up there, so all of you can go specifically to them, and they're demonstrating their work. So it doesn't have to be where you go to see everybody. You can go see our kids in action, what programs are in. They'll walk you around and have a complete schedule for you. And then if you have to leave before the all boards meeting, the presentation for the all boards meeting is the culinary class, cooking and presenting the dinner that night.
The date of this meeting is? What is the date of this meeting?
October 17th.
17th.
17. You'll be getting an invitation from
Okay.
Butler Tech and John
Yeah.
Graft, and then Donna will call and follow up with all of you.
I believe we already received.
Yeah, did you guys get your
I'll check.
invitation? Yeah, just
I
check.
know, I think I RSVP'd a week or two ago.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And the culinary kids, what they fix is amazing each
It
year.
is amazing. Their food, they do a great job.
That's at the Fairfield campus?
Yes, it's the old D. Russell Lee. They're on Route 4.
Okay.
I'll have Donna send out directions and
Oh,
addresses for all
okay,
of you.
good. Yeah.
Right there at Route 4 and Bypass 4.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to reports from employee organizations. Do we have any certificated or licensed employees that would like to speak? Okay, please come on up.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Beatty. I'm the school counselor at Coleraine Elementary. And we first want to begin by thanking the administration and the board for doing everything they could not to get to the point of needing a levy, and then subsequently the excruciating task of determining what to cut. We are here to let the community know, from a school counselor perspective, why this levy needs to pass. The elementary years are a time when students begin to develop their academic self-concept and feelings of competence and confidence as learners. They are beginning to develop decision-making, communication, and life skills, as well as character values. It is also a time when students develop and acquire attitudes towards school, self, peers, social groups, and family. School counselors are prepared to recognize and respond to student mental health needs and assist students and families seeking resources.
I'm Leslie Tways, the school counselor at Montford Heights Elementary. In order for a child to be academically successful, we need to educate the whole child. Educating the whole child isn't just math, science, reading, and writing. It's learning how to regulate your emotions, making friends on the playground, resolving a conflict with a classmate, persevering in tough situations, and developing a passion for learning. The demands on teachers make it difficult to teach these skills alone. The school counselors not only provide support for these students in difficult situations, but teaches social emotional learning and skills to help students through life's challenges.
I'm Chelsea Fagan. I am the school counselor at Pleasant Run Elementary. Counselors provide social emotional learning to all students. Social emotional learning is the best way to cultivate a safe classroom and school climate. Social emotional learning gives students the tools and skills to manage their emotions, be confident and resilient in the face of adversity, make positive and pro-social choices, and have healthy relationships and deep, meaningful connections. My name is Andrea Goins. I'm the school counselor at Taylor Elementary. Over the last year, the elementary school counselors have met with over 1,800 students individually. We have led over 900 classroom lessons teaching social emotional learning. The top concerns we are seeing with our students are managing anxiety and anger, coping with issues at home, and learning conflict resolution skills. All of these skills directly impact their ability to be successful in the classroom.
My name is Taylor Burkholder. I'm the school counselor at Struble Elementary. School counselors are essential for our children to have all the opportunities to fully develop into who they're meant to be. Our children deserve experience such as meeting their best friend at soccer tryouts, learning how to play hot cross buns on the recorder, and going to Friday night football games. Our children deserve to build positive relationships with staff members such as the Dean of Students and the school counselors. Our children deserve these special school experiences and more. Our children are not able to vote, but you can, so vote yes for our levy. Thank you.
I'd just like to take a quick second, first of all, thanking you very much for coming to the meeting and sharing, and second of all, for everything you do. You make a difference in children's lives every single day, and we understand the importance of that. We're going to do our best to get out there and get this levy passed, because our kids need all of you. So thank you for coming and sharing. Do we have any reports from classified employees? How about from school-related organizations? I do not have any requests for community comments. So we'll move right into certificated and licensed personnel.
Thank you. The first item is certificated licensed personnel, certified retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel, classified retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on classified retirements and resignations? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Good evening. First, I'd like to ask the board to dispense with reading of the September 9th regular meeting minutes that were as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes for the September 9th meeting? Okay.
Next, the financial report for the month of August.
There we go. Motion passed 5-0. It was a little slow there. Okay.
The all funds balance for the month of August was a little over $62 million. Our general fund unreserved cash balance was almost $28 million. Our revenues for the month of August, year to date, were $26 million, or at 29% of the year, because we've already received our second half property taxes. Our expenditures for the year to date are $15 million, or at 15% of the year. Our average return on our investments are 2.24%, and the monthly bills were our routine monthly bills, as well as our bus purchases per our bus replacement schedule, our liability, fleet, and property insurance premiums, the maintenance plan for our master facilities project. We had some a sidewalk, some curriculum materials, severance payments, annual software licenses, as well as student and fiscal software, bleachers, technology supplies, gym floor refurbishing, and student supplies that are also covered under our school fees. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the financial reports for the month of August as listed.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next is new funds. We received a scholarship donation for $15,000 for the Friends of the Nepali students. This is to help our students continue school after high school. So we need to establish that fund, as well as 2 new grants for Pleasant Run Elementary to help assist with reading. And we also have the Student Wellness and Success Fund that needs to be established. This fund is a result of the new biennial budget, where the governor did fund to partner with community organizations to help fund social emotional needs of students. So we have to create the fund so that we can accept the funds, and then also pass through whatever our plan will be as we continue to work with community organizations. So with that, I'd like to ask the Board of Education to approve these new funds as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Motion passed 5-0.
And finally, we have the permanent appropriations. The Ohio Revised Code requires that a permanent appropriation resolution be passed by October 1st every single year. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2020 as listed.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Questions regarding permanent appropriations for 2020? Okay. Motion passed 5-0. Thank you, Amy.
The next item is general business items. The first one is vendor contracts. The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed, and all were budgeted for any contracts that were listed.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded on vendor contracts. Questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is donation to Northwest Local School District. Mrs. Carol Burning is donating $15,000 to create 3 $5,000 scholarships in the name of Friend of Nepali students. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the donation to Northwest Local School District as listed.
So moved?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? I'd like to take a second to thank Carol Burning for this generous donation. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is certificated licensed personnel items. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second?
Moved in second. Questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel items. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions regarding classified personnel? Motion passed 5-0. Okay, we'll go to superintendent's update.
Yes, Amy's going to go over a PowerPoint to start, and then we're both going to make comments as she's going through it.
Good evening. We've been getting questions, and we've been also going around to as many organizations and groups as we can to explain the reason why the Board of Education and the district has a levy on the November ballot. So tonight, this is to explain our reasons why. So first, I want to ask everybody to think about this number as we go through the presentation tonight. The state funding formula in the state of Ohio is a partnership between local communities and the state of Ohio. What the state of Ohio does is they determine the amount of money a local community can fund or support their local school district, and then they pay the difference. So every year they determine what the basic education of a student would cost. They determine what the local community can pay for to support that basic education, and the state pays the difference. Here at Northwest, they consider our local share to be 60% of a basic education, and then the state pays us the additional 40%. However, what we're actually collecting is 40% from the local community for basic education and 40% from the state, leaving 20% of basic education unfunded and 100% of above basic education unfunded. This graph shows what a typical school district levy cycle looks like. Every so many years, the district is required to go back out to the community to ask for support for inflationary increases, or for increases that the community wants within their local school district. So what this cycle does, if you see in this oval, with a levy, levies are flat when passed, so you have to ask for more than what you need at the beginning of your levy cycle so that you can spend those additional dollars at the end of your levy cycle and you break even in the middle of a levy cycle. A levy cycle could be 3 years, could be 5 years, could be 7 years, whatever the board and community determine is adequate for a levy cycle. This is our levy history. So here at Northwest, we have past levies the community has voted for and approved in past levies in 1976, in 1986, in 1989, in 1997, and again in 2007 with an emergency levy. When a levy is passed, that revenue that we receive from that levy is fixed and never increases. So as you see on the right-hand side, $3 million in 1976, we received that in 1976, we receive that today. It does not increase. The 1986, $7 million, we received $7 million in 1986, we receive that same $7 million today. We also hear that, well, we've been back to the voters in the recent past, and we have. The 2007 levy has been renewed in 2012 and in 2017. It did not give us additional dollars. It helped us maintain and keep the dollars that we have been operating on since 2007. So as a district, we've not had new monies for operations for 12 years. However, there have been changes with the state funding formula and with items that the state provides in their formula. They've taken away tangible personal property taxes of $4 million a year. This is tax revenue that we used to receive on inventory for companies that the state rewrote the tax law and therefore eliminated that funding for school districts. The cost of doing business factor, we no longer receive 7.5% additional revenue from the state because of the cost of doing business within Hamilton County is more expensive than to do business in other counties across the state of Ohio. Transportation, 2 years ago, the state redid the funding formula and they eliminated $1 million worth of funding that we used to receive for transportation just with a pen. Changed the way the funding formula was written, and that was $1 million per year that we no longer receive. For community schools and scholarship programs, these are dollars, as I said, since 76, 1986, 96, that have been coming to the district, tax revenue coming to the district that we've been operating on for decades. When they started implementing community schools and scholarships, that allowed students to take those tax dollars with them to go to those other schools. However, as a district, we've been operating on those funds for years and now no longer have those funds. So since 2004, the district has lost $11 million annually in state changes in the funding formula. With the emergency levy in 2007 and the master facility bond project, we were able to recoup $8 million of the $11 million annually, which still left us with a deficit in revenue, and then inflationary increases continue to happen. So this graph is our May 5-year forecast, and the black bars are our estimated revenue. The green is this levy if it were to pass, and the red line is expenditures, because every year with inflationary increases, our current expenditures with no changes continue to increase each year. We get asked the question, how do we compare with other districts? So this is tax revenue for districts all around the surrounding area. The black arrow is Northwest Local Schools. If you were to pick up your property and move it to any district to the right, your exact house, your exact property, you would pay more in taxes than you pay right here in Northwest Local Schools. But how does that compare within Hamilton County? As you can see towards the bottom in bold, Northwest Local Schools. This is where we fall within Hamilton County. So we look like we're fourth from the bottom. But Southwest Local also has an income tax. So if you had $300 to $400 per year onto Southwest property tax, that takes them around $1,100, $1,200, which is above Northwest Local Schools. And also there's Indian Hill at the bottom, who's at the state minimum floor because their valuation is so large. So when you take those two into consideration, we're almost second to the last within the county in property tax collections. So how much do we spend compared to state average? as we've been going around and showing, 2 years ago, we were at $8,400 compared to the state average of $9,200. So almost $1,000 less per pupil than the state average. But as the report cards just came out and shows, we are actually all the way over on the right-hand side, left-hand side of the slide at $8,300. So we're actually spending less last year than we did the year before. What this graph shows is expenditure per pupil. So all the way on the right-hand side is Indian Hill at almost $16,000 per year, and we are all the way over here on the left-hand side at a little over $8,000 per year, about half. What this also shows on this graph is the report card grades. The blue is the districts that received an A, and this is all Hamilton County schools. The green are Bs. The yellow, which Northwest is a C, and the orange is a D. And I know it's probably difficult to see the little numbers above the lines, but those are the state share percentages. It's the amount that each district receives from the state. And we're at 41%. Right next to us at North College Hill is 84%. So the picture is more complicated than just what we receive in taxes.
So Amy, it's very difficult to see the difference between orange and yellow up there. But as I look, we are second from the bottom in the amount we spend on students. And there are yet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 schools above us who spend more on students and have a D on the state report card. And my point is 8. So exactly like yours, to get results in other districts, allow our teachers to spend the same on students as other districts do. We have a C, and we're doing pretty darn well with what little funding we have for students. And that is to be attributed, 1, to our students and their families, 2, our outstanding teachers, and 3, our outstanding administrators. We're not playing on a fair level field, but we are getting results that may not be what people want, but put us where we should be and watch the results go from there. And that's what we've been trying to say. We've done a great job, and Amy and the people before us since 2007, making the same monies work since then. But it's time to change. If you want to double what we spend for districts, then that will put us with Indian Hill, Marymount, Sycamore, Wyoming, and Madeira. But you can't compare us to any of them. You can't compare our scores to Loveland. You can't compare our scores to Madeira or any of those above, because they spend a whole lot more money on every student than our district does, is what she's trying to show here. And it's not a level playing field. And the only way to get part of the way up, and passing this levy at 7.5 doesn't move us that much further, but we're doing a pretty good job with what we got. And we listen to counselors who get up here who have one of the most important jobs in the world with our kids, and we're having to fight for our staff. The other thing you don't see up there, our caseload for special education is very high. If you compare caseload to those top 6, they have 1 adult who's responsible for 6 kids on IEPs. That's it. Our high school average, Daryl, I believe, is 1 to 23.
Currently, we're about 1 to 18.
18 in middle school and elementary?
They can go up to 16, and we average, by the end of the year, we're maxed out on caseloads. We're around 15.
So we constantly get complaints, and then people are asking, where's the student achievement? I think our student achievement is getting there, but it takes time to make change. So we have to stop the finger pointing. We have to get behind our staff, which is doing a great job, give time for the curriculum changes we put in place, and reinforce it with passing a levy so our kids and our staff get what they need to get, because they deserve the same opportunities as all 17 in front of us, and the 8 in front of us that spend $2,000 to $3,000 more than us who have a lower report card rating. And that's what this chart tells it all. And it's not showing, we've shown everybody, we are transparent. We're not blowing money. We're not wasting money. It's a funding issue. It's not overspending. It is a funding issue for every school district above us.
And the levy is to maintain current operations, it's not to add operations. So our expenditure per pupil would not go up based on the levy. It would to be to maintain that expenditure per pupil. Because if we had to make these reductions, we would actually be the last district on this slide for Hamilton County. Additional considerations, what Todd was talking about is why a district in our district needs additional revenue is the state budget. Every 2 years, the state changes the funding formula, and usually they're reducing revenue from the state. So our operations continue. We still have to be able to provide those operations and those services without additional funding.
Is the state funding, do you anticipate it going even lower?
Then zero?
Yeah, I mean from 40,
Sorry, it's a zero right now.
no, but I mean the 40, 60 or whatever it is, the funding from the state?
The state can do whatever they want.
Okay, but
Right now, it's based
you
on
anticipate it's
community-
going to get less as we go on?
Well, that's based on community wealth, so it just depends on actual 1040s and community wealth,
Okay.
what they determine that to be.
Still screwed up.
But they're shifting more and more as a local burden, so I do continue to see that shift happening.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yes, the shift from the state to local communities has been happening over the past decade and is continuing into this decade. District preventative maintenance and repairs is all locally funded. The state does not fund upkeep and support of your buildings. Unfunded mandates, the federal government and the state government like to put things in place that we're required to do with no funding to help us provide those services, and changes in the economy. And we hear every day on the news what's coming, potential recession. We've been hearing that for several years. As the ebb and flow of an economy happens, the district has to be able to react and still maintain and provide services for our students. So what are we requesting? On the ballot in November, there is a 7.5 mil emergency levy to avoid an operating deficit. This levy will generate around $11 million a year and is a 10-year emergency levy. So it'll last for 10 years. It will have to be renewed in order to maintain it. What will this levy cost? The 7.5 mil levy will cost a $100,000 home about $260 a year, or $21.88 per month. If the levy does not pass in November, because of the timing of revenue and the fact that we are behind and already in deficit spending, we have to have a big influx of revenue come in. So if we have to wait to go into March or in a different calendar year, the levy millage would have to increase in order to have that larger influx of revenue come in to help offset our deficit spending.
Yet it wouldn't give us any additional dollars.
It would give us additional dollars to help offset what we've already spent.
Right, right.
But not help us increase operations.
That's what I meant.
Yes. So what do we get to keep with this levy? So our extracurriculars, our music, art, PE, rigorous courses such as gifted, AP, and CCP within our high schools. And also our DINA students, nurses in all our buildings, and our counselors as they presented tonight.
They're just going to gut our thing if this doesn't pass.
And this was a number I asked everybody to think about through this presentation. This is our current kindergarten class, and we want to make sure that we can provide them all the opportunities, skills, and abilities that they need for when they graduate, that they can go out into the world and be successful. So those are the reasons why we have a levy on the ballot. You have questions?
Back to the slide where it showed how much taxes Northwest School District is paying, and we're like towards the bottom, and I think only Indian Hill, you're right there.
This one?
Yes, that one. So Indian Hill is paying $727. How are they spending just under $16,000 per student?
Their valuation. So $727 per $100,000 home.
Okay. Okay. So, this is per $100,000. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my next question is, It's just their ratio is lower. You're just saying the ratio is lower.
Yeah, they, per $100,000 home, they're paying less per 100,000 than here at Northwest.
Okay. Next slide where you have all the different colors and like the blue and the yellow and the. Is Fairfield on there, or what happened to Fairfield?
This is Hamilton
It's-
County.
This is just Hamilton County comparison.
Because previous slides we talked about Fairfield. We mentioned them there.
Yes.
So it's like, why do we mention them here?
This was prior to the report card, so this was a year before. This was the data that we had. This was the most current data. And I was doing surrounding schools as we've been going out to different organizations and community groups and speaking. We've been getting a lot of questions, how do we compare within Hamilton County? So when the report cards were released, this is all of Hamilton County and how we compare.
Yeah, because I've noticed that, Fairfield has a lower cost per pupil. I know they're not in this one because it's not Hamilton County. And I just have been always curious as far as like, what is it they're doing that they're able to have their costs lower and what their ratings look like from ours.
The ratings are the same as ours, as I showed at a couple board meetings.
So it's like, what are the comparisons?
It's difficult to compare everything about schools because every district operates differently. Sometimes they call things differently, but we can, talk to them and
Do they have
inquire
any
about
type sales
specific
tax
things.
type things at Fairfield?
They're higher state funded than we are.
They're not the 60-40?
No.
What are they? What is their
Off the
ratio?
top of my head, I don't know, but it's a little higher.
Okay.
Probably 43, 40.
Okay.
It's close, but it's higher.
And so Northwest, when you hit that graph up there of all the school districts in Hamilton County, we are actually the second largest school district in Hamilton County behind Cincinnati Public. Is that true?
Yes,
Yes, we still
that is
maintain that.
correct.
Yeah, okay. So we're the second largest and we're doing what we're doing for that little bit of money per student.
And again, because we're in deficit spending, the levy will not increase that number.
No,
That
no,
is
I
with
get
the
that.
need of the levy.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right, I want to continue on with a couple things from last meeting. So in revisiting the recommendation of reductions, I wanted to point out a few things that were brought up at our last board meeting. The current accepted reductions is $9.6 million. We currently have an 8.5, a little bit more spending deficit right now. But Amy has said several times in her presentations that we are expecting $11 million for last year. So I want to be very clear that nobody's putting extra cuts in next year. What did I say? Next year. I want to be very clear that what we're doing is, even if we pass this levy, we have to make efficiencies and look at reductions. It doesn't change us from what she just showed you up there. I've had lots of conversations and phone calls from the community, which has been absolutely fantastic. A lot of the citizens who are on fixed incomes and no longer have any way to raise their income, retired folks, have expressed major concerns about why you need football, why you need band, art, music, and PE, that kids just need to go to college, and explain to them that things have changed and that it is very important and it helps develop the whole child. But some folks don't get that. So we had that conversation. The other conversation was, can teachers take a decrease in pay? Can OPSI take? Can administrators? And we checked with our attorneys, and that is against the law and negotiated contracts. And when people are under contract, you cannot change the pay. So I did share that with the board, but I wanted the community to know that also. And if you want to see what was out there, a lot of you already know how to do public record request. It's an email that I sent to the board. You're more than welcome to see it. But I wanted you to know that we're not hiding anything in there and that we are telling you the truth when we talk about those things. The other thing is our recommendations for reductions was not an easy decision. Building principals had to talk to BLTs, classified, certified employees, get their feedback. As I told the board, some employee groups refused to put anything down, and we're already paying for all our class supplies. We've already been reduced in what we're given. We can't take any more cuts, and they are 100% correct. So to put any cuts on that reduction list is very difficult, very hard to do. But it's something that I can tell you from every employee in this room and every employee in our schools, and specifically some sitting in the audience right there, is who I think some sold 40 raffle tickets on their own, trying to protect other people's. It was great to see people come up and say, I'm going to do my best to make sure so-and-so keeps a job. There's a lot of good morale and a lot of good staff out there that are buying raffle tickets, showing up to events, donating money, and supporting our staff. I appreciate the donation that OPSI made to the Levy campaign. I appreciate the donation that NEA made to our Levy campaign, and it helps a lot. And as you can see from the presentation of the 5 that were up there tonight, that's 5 out of 1,200. We have 1,200 awesome employees. We are a very large district. We have over 9,000 students. So anything we can do is greatly appreciated, and we'll continue to fight this battle. And we have a month and a half to get some more things done. I don't want to miss an opportunity to say thank you to everyone who came out to the Levy Rally. That was a great turnout. I think we sold more raffle tickets even there that night.
We did about 50 or 60 more just that night.
Signs we're working on. I hope to have an answer by you in the morning. I now have a list of 20 people wanting them. We're trying to see if it's cost effective and what we can do. Also, we will have Crowd the Corner on the day before the levy. We will have flyer drops that will go out the October 26th, a Saturday. Or if some groups have competitions, like our band groups or our football teams are playing late in the afternoon, they may choose a Sunday, but that weekend is when they'll be. We are going to do call banks where we will call registered voters and remind them to vote. So students, we are seeking your support with because you don't have school that day. So if you want to make signs and you want to stand at polling locations, we can hook you up with anything you want to do, and we can help get this passed. We do have in-service for our staff that day, so if people would ask, what are your teachers doing or your classified people doing, they have in-service that they're required by contract to be at. So those are some things I want to bring to your attention and make sure you have a clear understanding of what possibilities are out there. All of you are welcome to write letters to the editor. I think that would be a very strong message coming from someone who lives in the community, especially our students, if they have any they would like to share. If you need help with where to send it, contact me personally. I will get you with Lindsay Creasy, and we will make sure that if you write a letter that it gets put there. I want to end with something that Daryl's got us involved in, and we have been for the last 2 or 3 years, but it's an extension of the Georgetown project. So, Daryl, if you could give the good news with that.
So it seems like we talk a lot about November 5th, and we have, that's what we're looking forward to. But as a district, that is a benchmark that we are looking toward, but we are optimistic that that will come and go with positive news and the levy will pass. We are also looking long-term. So what Todd mentioned is more engaged with our long-term vision. 5 years ago, the district was involved with Georgetown University, and we sent a group there for something that their Center for Juvenile Justice Reform hosted called a School Justice Partnership Program. We went with a team from Hamilton County, so it was us, Legal Aid Society of Cincinnati, and Hamilton County Juvenile Court. We spent a week there learning from Georgetown staff, and then wrote a plan of implementing some long-term improvements for the district to really look at disproportionality and specifically around that point, truancy. And we, from that project, developed our Safe Council, which is our version of a truancy court. That happened 5 years ago, and it's grown every year to the point that it's a model for this region, and we have 3 other districts in this area who are coming to visit us and trying to replicate what we do in their district. This year, Georgetown announced that they would like to continue offering that program, but instead of bringing people there, they wanted one group that would submit a large application and bring Georgetown to a region to have a larger, broader impact. So we partnered with our partners from before, Legal Aid and Hamilton County Court, and we actually brought on 5 other partners. So we wrote one single application to Georgetown with Northwest, Princeton, Cincinnati Public, the Hamilton County Educational Service Center, Legal Aid, Juvenile Court, and Hamilton County Job and Family Services. And we wrote an application to Georgetown saying, if you come here, all 7 partners will bring teams to the room, and we will work together to reduce barriers, to collaborate, to create interagency collaboration, and streamline processes to improve outcomes for students, specifically around disproportionate removals from school for African American students with disabilities, because all 3 districts are struggling with that, and trying to divert students from pathways that would lead to involvement with juvenile court or foster care situations, and actually build support networks that would create more positive outcomes. That program started this week because of all the applications from around the country. Our application was selected by Georgetown. So starting today, Georgetown is in Cincinnati hosting a week-long event where we will work together as 7 agencies to create interagency agreements, collaborations, and a plan that will hopefully create more positive outcomes through collaboration for students in those 3 districts that hopefully will, again, like last time, become a model for replication in other areas. So even though November 5th is our short-term goal, we do as a district have more long-term things that we are trying to work on to continue to improve the district.
Who from the district is representing this for the children's support, for the support network?
For the current project or the one we did 5 years ago?
The current one.
The current project is myself, Dustin Gehring, Heidi Stickney, Lori Reilly, Casey Schurz, Jonathan Love, Melissa Nelson, Lindsay Gibson, and Dean Dorfline.
And you guys meet with them how often?
It started today, and it is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 8 to 5:30. And then after that, all 7 partners will write one action plan that all 7 agencies will collaboratively implement over the course of a year. Georgetown will come back twice in that calendar year to do technical assistance with us on the implementation of our plan. So our plan is not just Northwest, our plan is how all 7 agencies come together to collaborate and build stronger systems of support for all students.
I want to take a second to congratulate you for that happening again. That's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of districts that applied, and the fact that our team was selected and Georgetown is here, that is a really big deal. We have some neighboring districts that have been working with us, I believe, to want it. I'm losing my.
We have neighboring districts who are trying to replicate what we did last time with
Exactly.
Georgetown.
That's what I meant to say. Yes, and if you go down to Hamilton County Courthouse, you will hear them talk about this program and what a great job from 5 years ago to now that this team has done. So that's awesome. And again, the number one goal is what's best for kids.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we're going to have community comments or questions. If you have a comment or question about something we discussed tonight, you can come up front. The only thing I ask that if there's questions directed to the administration, they can go ahead and answer. I just ask so that we as a board stay consistent. We can, if we have anything we want to say, we'll just incorporate that in our comments at the end of the meeting. That's okay with everybody. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. So with that, we will move into board member comments. Joe?
All right, this is going to be a little long, and I typed it up today, so it's going to take me a little while. Let me preface this by saying that I was involved with high school athletics for 30 years. 30 years of coaching at Walnut Hills, and 27 years of officiating basketball in some of the toughest conferences in Southwest Ohio. While going to these games that I refereed, I noticed how difficult it was for schools to prepare for a game. The principal and AD coordination for the event, team prep by coaches, cheerleaders, ticket selling and ticket taking at the door, bands preps, and concession personnel. Most of these positions in these high schools are on a voluntary basis. My crew, when we did basketball, whether it was Moeller or Northwest or Coleraine, we just had to go into the gym, make a few bad calls, and get out of there. Last Friday, I attended the Northwest Edgewood game. I personally thanked some of the individuals for volunteering their services. I met a very energetic young head varsity coach who was constantly encouraging his players during warm-ups. I briefly talked to the new AD. He was very upbeat and very busy. Although the game was not very favorable, Susan, I had an epiphany. What if this field was vacant next year? What happens to these athletes, coaches, cheerleaders, marching band, and the parents and adults who support athletics? It is imperative that we in the district think of all these factors. Please register the vote and vote for the levy. These kids need a chance. As the sporting goods ad says, every kid needs a chance to play. Oh, by the way, on a lighter side, that's what my observations were on athletics. On a lighter side, my brother Akira won his 4th Emmy for outstanding production design of variety, reality, and competition. So he works for SNL. So some of you people don't like it. That's fine.
Mark?
So I wanted to thank everybody that came out for the kickoff gathering at Northgate Mall. It was exciting to see so many people come together for one common cause. I enjoyed seeing our educators, administrators, administrative staff, and our community come together. So many people were excited to take signs and support our levy. For me, it was like a shot of B12 seeing everybody come together. I think it is important to remember that energy as we move forward until November. I have also enjoyed seeing the positive posts about our district. Pictures of our staff during Professional Development Day and pictures of our kids just being kids at the school. And that's why we're all here, right? In my first 2 years as a board member, I've seen consistent decline in the state support of our children's education. It is clear to me, and hopefully everyone else, that it will not improve. It is the district's leadership and Board of Education's responsibility to redevelop the financial infrastructure and academics of this district. We're going to have to look at our business of educating kids and maintain a solid bottom line through a different lens than what we've seen in the past. We cannot keep doing the same thing over and over and expect something different as an outcome. My personal feeling is our district has maxed out its size, and we need to do a rescaling of the district appropriately. We need to start thinking out of the box, ideas that may have never been thought of before. I believe consolidating the schools into our new 3 schools was a great start. In my experience, this will take collaboration. We need the synergy of a healthy agenda-free group of people that can think and speak freely with each other, that an idea presented isn't dismissed immediately, yet vetted and thought through. Whether the levy passes or not, this is going to happen. We must set our differences aside and stop bickering amongst ourselves and share our thoughts and ideas for the good of our kids and our community. I also believe that success of our district will directly be impacted by the relationship of the school district and the township leadership. If the school district does not become a priority to the township administration, they will never be able to develop this community in a healthy way. I think we have a great start to the school this year. We have had increases in our district report card, significant improvements since the start of last year's new school rollout, and a great kickoff last week. This is a very large school district with an incredibly diverse population throughout our community. Turning this ship will be more like turning a cruise ship. It will take time to set the course on the exact right course that will bring a balance between us financially and academically. We cannot expect the reaction of a small, agile speedboat. That will not happen, and this will leave everybody vulnerable for disappointment. So let's keep the momentum moving forward, and thank you for attending the meeting this evening. And I just want to say lastly, I've worked in behavioral health, and I understand the importance of what you ladies do. With the destruction of the family unit as time goes on, kids have less and less healthy environment, and it is becoming the school's responsibility to help develop that and create a culture of healthy. And the last position I want to see go is your guys, honestly. I truly respect and value the effort, and I know that you guys develop an emotional attachment to every little situation that you deal with. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Good job, Mark. You hit every point why you should vote for the levy. And I want to thank the counselors also. You guys do a great job. And Taylor's the one that sold all the tickets. She sold 50 of them, so thanks for that. Appreciate that. The levy rally was awesome. We've had them before, and I'll have to say it was probably double the size that our last one was. So I want to thank all the people that came out, all the parents came out. They took away about 1,000 signs. So you'll see those up and around the community. Amy, great presentation. You couldn't have made it any more clearer how the state has taken $11 million away from us in the last 5 or 6 years. And it is so pathetic that they don't value education for our kids. And you couldn't have made it any more clear. And Daryl, great job with the Georgetown project. I've heard nothing but great things about that the last 5 years since we've been doing that. And I believe, didn't we have a judge come in here 3 or 4 years ago that was involved with that? Yeah. You know, maybe we can bring her back so she can talk to the community and just tell them where we're at and what we're doing on that. Would be awesome if we could get her back. And that's it.
Always the disadvantage going last. I too want to touch on the levy kickoff. For the levy committee, there's nothing more energizing to see 950 signs go out the door so fast without begging principals to each of them take 50 or 100 signs. We had families, we had young people. Zoe, Logan went door to door in their community, ran out of signs, called, we got them more. They got rid of those as well. They took voter registration, they took the FAQ, and they went door to door, and I want to thank you guys for doing that. And again, like I said, from this view, there is nothing better than to see all of you sitting there. For the counselors, I know this is tough, and I love your shirts, and you go beyond every single day. And we're going to fight so hard because, as Jim said, and Mark, everybody here, I mean, the children need you. They absolutely need you. We cannot expect the kids to go in the classroom and be able to absorb everything they need to absorb educationally if they're not physically and psychologically ready to do so. And you guys put your hearts out there every minute of the day. And I sure hope this community opens their eyes and realize what an asset that you are and how we probably need 5 times as many of you there. Because 1,800 kids, but to be seen by a handful of you, I'm not quite sure when you sleep. Because I know you take your work home with you, as pretty much every other employee in this district does. There are a lot of things still that we need help with the levy. Please reach out. Heck, at this point, you could probably ask Zoe or Logan. They can let you know. The crowd, the corner, we need to see everybody there. We do need help with the phone banks, making phone calls to remind people to vote. We'll have lists and stuff ready. There are some signs. We have several principals that still have some signs, so we need to figure out if staff, if you have extra signs, please let us know so we can get those out. And we're going to get this on November 5th. We've got to. We've got more people helping than we ever had, and we're going to make this work. The other thing, Mr. Buxton, for Al, I've got to do this just a handful of times, and boy, to see someone who should have graduated from high school, you know, over 50, almost 60 years ago, but chose to defend our country and to make sure all of us are standing here because of it. It's an honor that this district does this and that we're able to present him with a diploma. And seeing his old great-granddaughter hug him around the leg, I mean, it's priceless. It's just priceless. So I'm glad we get to do that here. With that, I am going to take a motion. The board will move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's Been moved and seconded. Any questions? Okay. We are going to go into executive session. We shouldn't be in there long. You're more than welcome to wait here, but we will not be taking any action other than to adjourn the meeting. And Joe, I watched the Emmys last night, and when I saw Lorne Michaels get up there and accept that award for Saturday Night Live, and he made the comment about 45 years or 42 years they've been doing this, and then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I kind of remember when that started. I was in high school. But pretty cool. So thank you, and you guys all get home safe.